The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello, everyone. It's Laura Stack, the Productivity Pro. Welcome, and thank you for joining me for this special presentation today to introduce my newest book that hit bookstores today, January 23rd, Faster Together, Accelerating Your Team's Productivity. I appreciate your time, and for those of you I've not had an opportunity to meet before, just a couple quick things about me. There I am. Hi. My company, the Productivity Pro, Inc., is celebrating this year 25 years in business now and counting. I was given my certified speaking professional designation back in 2000 and was honored to be the president of the National Speakers Association in 2011 and 12, and then in 15 was inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame. Quite an honor for me, and I am the author of now 8 books. This is my 8th, and all 7 previously, if you are following my work, you will know that I have focused on improving personal productivity at some level until now, whether it's for individuals, employees, leaders, salespeople. I spent 25 years in that market, and I still believe strongly that every professional should strive to improve his or her own productivity levels. But after 25 years as a productivity trainer, consultant, speaker, I have realized after talking with thousands of people just how hard it is to improve your productivity if you're on a team of people who don't care about improving theirs. So that's where the new focus of this book is, on team productivity versus individual productivity. And when you're surrounded by other individuals who are slow moving and who are not being productive, then you are stuck in a traffic jam of sorts. So we're going to talk today about the real world where people frustrate each other, but they have to work together. So a lot of what I hear now about, countless emails and constant communication, major deadlines, seemingly endless meetings, it's a wonder that anybody can get anything done. Do you ever feel that way? And we often try working harder or faster or smarter, but what really makes the difference is teaming well. And I know that a good team is the most powerful productivity machine in existence. So let me give you a bit of a backstory on why I use the words machine and traffic jam. And you can see from the cover, there's a bright, shiny red convertible on the cover. So in July 2015, when I was honored to be inducted into the Speakers Hall of Fame, as I mentioned, by the National Speakers Association, to celebrate, my husband John surprised me with a car that I have wanted since I can remember, since I was a young girl. It was a brand new red convertible, 650 horsepower Corvette Z06, loaded with all the options. She's got a black racing stripe, as you can see there, a black and red leather interior, and a custom Colorado license plate emblazoned with the name Zora. Of course, that rhymes with Laura, but also happens to be the surname of the Belgian-born engineer known as the father of the Corvette. So perfect. She really is a dream come true. And there was just one problem. I had no idea how to drive her. I thought I did, until I attended a 2-day Corvette owner's driving school. No kidding. Did you even know these existed? In Pahrump, Nevada, out in the desert, an incredible racing experience where I learned how shockingly little I knew about my car's capabilities. Now, that is my car, but it's not my car. It's my car, but it's not the actual car. This is the same car in every way except the convertible. They match your car with you so that you know you're driving exactly the same thing. So this Z06 was identical to mine in every way. And the first ride is with the instructor. Okay, so after a heart in my throat demo drive where that car literally hugged the curves like it was on rails, I finally got a sense of what this car could do. And I could not wait to drive it. And by the end of the course, I say I was driving a little less like a grandma on a Sunday outing and a little more like my instructor. But until I really understood what they were teaching, all right, here's some classroom time. All right, I had to learn how to enter turns, right? How to hit the apex. Did you know that it's very complicated just to take a turn. You know, how do you accelerate out of the turn correctly? How do you understand oversteer and understeer? What's the proper speed? Braking. I was using paddle shifts, torque. Until I knew all of this, I was not very effective as a driver. And here I am driving that course, and you can see the little green cone kind of off to the right behind me. That was how they taught us to hit that apex. They literally wanted us to kind of drive right over that. Now, why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you all about this beautiful car and this racing school, and what does that have to do with your team? Because it's exactly the same way with your team. My friend and colleague, Alan Weiss, who's the author of $1 Million Consulting, he read the book and he put it this way. He said, Faster Together is a driving school for teams who find themselves in charge of a powerful machine but never receive the owner's manual and aren't quite sure how to maximize power, traction, and torque. You have at your disposal the most powerful productivity machine in existence, your team. Now, this is the team that I drove with, of course. You can't fit a team of people into a Corvette. In fact, you can only fit one other person in the Corvette. I was the only woman there. It was an amazing experience. But in this book, we're going to put you in the driver's seat of your team car. If you picture your team and you're on that team, you're a member of that team, and you're in that team car, and we're going to pretend that we're going to smush all of you into this Corvette. That's what I want to talk with you about. How do you accelerate your team's productivity along this track to success? And this has been such a fun project because I've been able to use racing analogies throughout the book. And in today's business, it is just not good enough to be fast. You can be so fast, you yourself individually. Oh my gosh, you are organized. You know how to manage your time. You don't waste time. You keep 0 emails in your inbox. You know how to hold a good meeting. However, you can't be fast by yourself. You and your team have to be faster together if your team is going to succeed and your organization is going to boost its productivity. We as team members must always be asking ourselves, what can I do to help my team go fast? How can I personally remove the speed bumps that are slowing my team down? In what ways can I take personal responsibility to save time for my team? Can you imagine if everybody did this? I equate this to kind of the team version of President John F. Kennedy's famous statement, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So we're asking teams and imagining how efficient we could be if everyone on it adopted this mindset. How can I help my team go faster? Which means we want your team to be reading this book and working on this program together. You can read it yourself, but it's going to be the most powerful if everybody with you goes through the program with this attitude of becoming faster together. And in the 25 years I have been studying productivity, I have found that the fastest teams who are the most productive hold 4 keys. You knew that was coming, right? I have to use 4 keys to a fast team. And these are the 4 parts of the book. FAST is an acronym. F stands for fairness. That means proper under the rules, honest, just, and straightforward. A stands for accountability, meaning responsible for someone or for some action. You're answerable within one's power, control, or management. Systems. How does one element impact the whole? These are our interrelated linkages and interactions between the different components, or in this case, a set of correlated people. And then lastly, technology. You knew that was coming, but specific methods, materials, devices. How do we exchange information? The creation and use of technical means and the use of knowledge to solve problems. So each of these 4 keys that we look at in the book, these are the 4 parts of the book. Each one has 3 corresponding accelerators. Yes, accelerators. These are the things that are going to make our team car go faster. The 4 keys with each of their 3 accelerators make up the 12 chapters in the book. Very simple. So an accelerator. We all know what accelerators are. Usually we think of them in a car. And indeed, they can be a device, typically a pedal that controls the speed of a vehicle's engine. So, of course, I had to call these accelerators because they can also be a person or a thing that causes something to happen or develop more quickly. These are the things that will help your team car speed up on the track to success. So let's go through these 12 accelerators one at a time. All right. So key 1 in the FAST team model, fairness. Accelerator number 1. And here we're talking about building relationships. And it begins here. As a team gels, fairness enables its members to develop a level of comfort with one another. And you trust that everyone will get what they need or deserve without injustice or preferential treatment for a few. So a fair team applies standards evenly from the leader down to the most junior member of the team. Do you even have standards upon which you can build this foundation of relationship? Everyone on the team works to treat one another with respect, cordially, in an atmosphere of fair treatment that binds them into this tight-knit group. You don't have to be best friends. You don't have to go out and have happy hour together, but you do have to respect one another and to always be polite in the workplace with these very important relationships. The second accelerator in key number 1 is handling conflict. Now, some level of conflict becomes inevitable. You know how this works. Whenever you get more than a few independent thinkers together, there's going to be a difference of opinion. So rather than acting as a hindrance, the conflict on your team can be useful. Sometimes, indeed, the worst thing that can happen is for a team to get along too well. Have you seen that? I have. And no one wants to say boo about anything because it might rock the boat or tick off a high power person. So all team members should be willing to raise any objections they might have. And when true conflict arises, I use that word carefully, true conflict, having established protocols in place for mediating the dispute enables the team to produce the best possible outcome for both the individuals and the team as a whole. Accelerator number 3, improving cohesiveness. So for all this to really work and for fairness to really take hold, yes, we've got great relationships. Yes, we're handling conflict, but how do we gel? How do we bond into this solid but flexible whole made up of all these multiple parts? So fairness really comes together when the team develops a collective identity. And in a way, they're dependent upon one another. I mean, it's not unhealthy, but even if we split into smaller squads on one end of the work continuum, or we have to join with other teams in another department to facilitate collaboration, this cohesiveness allows us to ebb and flow easily, and we are so flexible as these needs arise. It allows us to face change effectively. All right, key number 2 in the FAST model, accountability. Accelerator number 4 is now trust. If you have established in key 1 this basis of fairness, then you have a high level of trust. In the workplace, in order to get this trust, we have to assume that people are accountable, right? Because that requires you and your team members to develop a culture that while we question the status quo, yes, we all believe that others have our best interests at heart. So when we really trust others, we can take them at face value. There's no second guessing. When they say they'll do something, if you trust them, you have no reason to doubt them, right? So in order to get here, to get this trust, what do? We have to accept responsibility. We have to accept the full responsibility to do your job and help your team members as part of this overall effort to reach individual team and organizational goals. See, when we accept responsibility, we know that people are relying on us and they trust us, and you trust yourself to accomplish what you've agreed to. So you and your team members recognize your places on the team without letting those places constrain you or devolve into this rule-bound kind of productivity killer. So it means that when you say you will do something, you do it. And that's the culture that's created in this team. And then the 6th accelerator under accountability is maximizing performance. Oh my gosh, this poor guy is like way out behind, right? How do we find out what's going on with other people? How do we help them if possible? See, if no one else holds you accountable to do your best, you owe it to yourself and to your team members to maximize your personal performance and productivity. So it's not like we're throwing up our hands in the air and going, oh, well, productivity's out, right? Laura says it's all about team. No, each person must crack the whip over himself and herself when they seem to be slacking. You know what that looks like in your life, right? Just like the car in this photo. If you know that's you, then you have to push yourself to improve your own performance and your own productivity, right? You put your best foot forward and you do your very best work every day. And everyone's committed to doing this. And if someone does fall behind, we can find out why. We can help them if possible. All right, key number 3 in the FAST team Model is systems. So accelerator number 7, making effective decisions. So this is the part of the process where you and your team members contribute your ideas and opinions toward fixing problems. And even if a decision doesn't go your way, you own that decision to best achieve your team and your organizational goals. So when a group makes the decision as a team, then we can all own it, even when it wasn't what you said. You don't go outside of that team meeting and say, oh boy, I didn't vote that we should do that. I think that's a really dumb idea. Let's just watch these dummies try and execute that decision. I'm just going to sit back here and watch them fail. No, it's not us and them. You're on this side of the team. And when you own that decision, then we can, even if we disagree with it, then we feel more ownership in making it happen. And decisions don't take too long either. I've seen teams make really long decisions. I mean, they may be effective, but they're very inefficient because I've seen a lot of over collaboration on teams as well, which is the opposite of that continuum. So they make effective decisions. Accelerator 8, managing time. So as a system, as a team, how do we help our team members manage time? I mean, as an individual, it doesn't matter how dedicated you are, you can't do everything. I mean, you can work an 80-hour week trying, and maybe you've done that before. You know, if you feel like your team members aren't pulling their weight, you know, or you're having to pitch in because so-and-so is not doing their fair share, well, you know you're going to burn out using that tactic. So instead, as a team, we have to focus on our top priorities, and we have to agree on what those are. And we have to understand where everybody is spending time, and we have to know this minute, is this the most productive use of my time based on the high value tasks that my team has agreed on? And so it's taking out some of that personal choice and having the team help me help you, right? Let's talk about this. And then what do we do with the rest of it? You know, all this other stuff. How do we delegate it? How do we share it or streamline it or outsource it or simplify it or defer it or eliminate it? I mean, I've had teams ask themselves the question, if we didn't do this at all, would anybody here notice? I mean, if everything's a priority, then nothing is a priority because you can't focus on anything. So we have to be ruthless as a team about filtering out the distractions that are sucking up our time. And we have to proactively communicate what our priorities are to our team members so they know what's happening in our world and what everyone needs to do first. Very critical piece of team management. Key 3 systems, accelerator number 9. Now we want to look at efficiency. So this is the going faster piece. It's the speed, the agility and flexibility. These are the names of the game in this section. So efficiency is all about doing a job or accomplishing a task with the minimum of time, energy, or resources. So it really comes down to generating maximum results and doing it in minimum time. So sometimes when we're refining a system, we find out, there's unnecessary parts here in this engine that we need to remove. And similarly, there are times when you should avoid teamwork when it can slow you down. Are there times when using a team takes too much time? Absolutely. And there are times when you're inadvertently hurting your team instead of helping it by not using teamwork. You could unwittingly be the bottleneck yourself in your team workflow and you don't even know it. So how do you improve your performance, your efficiency, your speed so that you're a motor for the team rather than an anchor? Then key number 4, technology. Accelerator 10, communicating properly. I mean, what's a team management book without a discussion on communication? But technological use is perhaps most heavily applied to communication within the organization. But I'm talking about team communication and how we should use technology to match our messages to the right media in a way that's most efficient for the team. For example, have you ever had an email and it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you're thinking, if we just would have picked up the phone, right, we could have had this resolved in 2 minutes. Or on the flip side, a meeting that everyone is sitting there, instead of doing other very high value work, and someone is reading you their slides or talking about something that they already sent in an email. So there's no brainstorming, no strategy, nothing that is really the intent of a meeting. And so how do we know, right? With text, with chat, with email, with meetings, with Skype, right? What is going to most productively move us toward our goals? And then accelerator 11, meeting effectively. This required its own chapter or its own accelerator because so much of our time today as workers, as leaders, as individuals is spent in meetings. And, it's not just face to face. I mean, everything is being hammered out on teleconferences and video-based platforms and webinar platforms like this one, instant messaging. I mean, decisions are made over text. It's crazy. And so meetings can be a combination of many of these different technologies. And with our teams scattered all around the world often and in different office configurations and different technologies and different time zones, we need to learn when and how to meet most effectively. And then the last accelerator, number 12 in our FAST team system, following protocols. So protocols for the use of technology are constantly evolving, but we need a separate set of protocols to govern the way our teams are going to work. I hear this from so many teams. They're so frustrated about people replying to all or forwarding a huge string of an email without summarizing it for someone. Do we know when we should be using these different types of things? Oh my gosh, don't send me a text for something like that. I need to document that. Or don't put up an IM on something that's not important. Have you had these types of conversations? Too often, most team members just seethe about how irritated they are with the way that other people use technology, and there are no standard expectations. So no one's using it correctly. Everybody's doing it willy-nilly, whatever they feel like, rather than thinking about what is the most effective use of technology in this circumstance. And so we end up reducing productivity for our team members inadvertently. So that's it. Those are the 12 accelerators. So again, these are the things that are going to help your team car go faster. Now, here's the problem. There are things that slow your team down. So while you have these 4 keys and you're trying to accelerate on the road, sometimes you encounter an obstacle, okay? Like this. This would absolutely be the worst thing you can have on a racetrack, a speed bump. And maybe it's a stop sign. Maybe it's not just a speed bump. Maybe it's a stop light. Like you are grinding to a halt because of this. Speed bumps, I think, are the most annoying out of every road obstacle because they don't just slow you down, they jostle you uncomfortably, and you don't get a lot of warning that speed bumps are coming up, right? It's like bump, boom. And if you hit one too hard, you are in the shop for repairs. In fact, if you have more than a few speed bumps, you can be slowed down so much that your progress and your productivity will be significantly curtailed. If you hit one of these things going at full speed, you just bought yourself a trip to the mechanic. So that's why I've included in this book the 4 worst speed bumps for each of the 12 accelerators in this book. So there are 48 potential team obstacles. So when we look at the definition of a speed bump, right, it's a ridge set in a road surface, typically at intervals, to control the speed of vehicles. You do not want your team car to have to slow down for these because your team's productivity will be also slowed to a halt if you don't find ways to flatten them. So you're going to bulldoze these speed bumps. And I'd love for you to do it with your team. So here's the FAST team tests. Again, FAST, Fairness, Accountability, Systems, and Technology. You're going to take this test and figure out of these 48 potential speed bumps, which of these are really slowing down your team so that you can master that corresponding accelerator and then ultimately that key so that together you can lead the pack in your business segment and speed out ahead. So what do you need to do first? I would appoint someone, and you can do this yourself. This is anybody can do this on the team. I would suggest you have someone who is going to be what I call the car chief. Okay. This person is going to kind of lead the efforts as you work through this book together. This person does not have to be the formal leader, by the way. It can be the formal leader if you choose, but maybe it's you because you're the one who's on this call and you're the one who is most interested in your team becoming faster together. And some teams, in my experience, are fairly self-managed. So the leader of the program, this car chief, will vary. What is a car chief? Well, in NASCAR, in a pit crew, the car chief performs the majority of the scheduling and the day-to-day preparations at the shop prior to race weekends. So according to Wikipedia, this person is responsible for managing the crew throughout the weekend, ensuring the car meets all of NASCAR's inspection requirements and oversees changes to the car requested by the crew chief or the team engineer. So as the car chief, you're going to take this recording back, which will be posted at the book's website, which is fastertogetherthebook.com, where they can watch this video and they can also take the FAST team assessment. That assessment link is absolutely free. It's the same test that's in the book, and it's available at the book website. And as the car chief, you're going to be having everybody take that test and then discussing the results, and the instructions are on the website. And ask these questions as a team. Where do you currently feel your team needs improvement? Where is your team inefficient? How do people slow each other down? And what can you personally do to help your team go faster? In general, the car chief is anyone who's a go-getter, a self-starter, ready to engage. All right, this should be pretty easy to figure out. It's your resident speed demon. All right, if you look up speed demon in Webster, it's someone or something that moves or works very fast. So in my mind, this term conjures up an image like of the Tasmanian devil or the Roadrunner from the Looney Tunes cartoons. And usually that person is fairly apparent to everyone. And it's the person who would be the most excited about your team becoming faster together. All right. So is that you? Are you the one who's constantly making suggestions about how things can be better? You need to talk to that person on your team and have them facilitate the Faster Together program using a special manual. Again, you will download that. There is no charge to take the assessment or download the instructions at the book site, fastertogetherthebook.com. And you can also choose, as the car chief, to purchase an optional facilitator guide and participant workbooks that would accompany the book for each team member, which would be completed as you read the book. So as you implement the program within your teams, the book, the workbook, and the car chief using the facilitator guide will provide a blueprint on how to accelerate your team productivity. Again, these support resources are at Faster Together the book, and as a special offer for today for people who are watching this video, if you choose to purchase that Fast Team Toolkit, you can use coupon FAST TEAM, all one word, and you'll get the entire thing for $99. So only people who are listening to this video. So making your team faster takes time, but here's how it can make you feel. I had so much joy after learning to drive and taking these lessons and applying them to your team, having your team jump into that team car together can be hard work, but it isn't complicated. And I've given you a roadmap on how to do it. If everyone on the team works together to make it happen, then you're going to be able to be faster together. And even if you are not the team leader listening right now, you can still foster the change in your team by emphasizing fairness, accountability, systems, and technology. Faster Together will show you how and put you on the highway to massive productivity. If you go through this program, you'll soon have a clear path, and your team car is going to tear down the road like it's a racetrack. I want to thank you for joining me and encourage you to please purchase your copy today and a copy for each member of your team. If you're going to do this together, you can get the book Faster Together, Accelerating Your Team's Productivity wherever books are sold. It's at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Booksamillion.com, and 800CEORead.com. And my email is the same as my name, Laura@laurastack.com. I would love to hear your stories of how you fast-tracked your success when your team did the Faster Together program and raced down the track together. Thank you all so much for your time. Have a productive day.